I've been training different. I wrestled an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I handcuffed lightning, threw thunder in jail. Only last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick. This is Mark Bell from supertraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. We have 3 questions to answer today for the Power Project. We have one question about wide stance deadlifts, even during conventional deadlifting. We have another question about severe headaches during lifting, and we have another question about building up strength off the floor. Let's attack question number 1. One guy who wrote in says he has severe headaches, almost to the point where it's crippling and brings him right down to his knees. He didn't say what exercise he was doing, but in the case of a deadlift or a squat, if you're doing the Pez dispenser thing with your head, that is going to put tremendous amounts of stress. Or even if you do the head forward deal at the top of your deadlifts, that's going to put some severe tension and pressure on your head. It's going to put a lot of pressure back in here. If I can show you back there, kind of hard for me to move that way. So that's going to be the first thing you want to work on, getting a neutral head. Work on getting a neutral head position, work on keeping a strong neck, work on kind of the sexy double chin that Jesse Burdick and myself refer to. Speaking of Jesse Burdick and myself, we have a seminar in Oceanside, CrossFit, February 24th. If you want to check it out, sign up at howmuchyoubench.net. So, first thing is, you're going to have to see a doctor, my friend. Anything with your head, anything with your eyeballs, anything screwed up with your ear, anything that's going on internally with your body, please go see a doctor. Don't be foolish. If you feel like you have a problem and you can't find anybody else around you that has a similar issue, I mean a nosebleed or popping some blood vessels in your eyes here and there, blowing out your face, those things kind of happen and they're somewhat normal. I myself blew out my eyes really bad, had an eye infection. It then went to both eyes, and I had to go to a doctor, and things became pretty serious, actually. So things can become serious very quickly, so make sure that you're ahead of the game and make sure you go see a doctor. But also work on keeping a neutral head position. That should solve some things for now. Make sure you're not putting too much pressure on that spine there. The next question is about wide stance during conventional deadlifts. Guy said he was watching the World's Strongest Man competition and he sees these guys using a wide stance on the deadlift. Well, you got to keep in mind that a lot of these athletes are very, very tall. So their deadlifting form is going to look a little different. I think guys like Brian Shaw and some of these other athletes that are just super, super tall, I mean, they're 6'5" and up. They're going to have some different looking form than the rest of us. And I think the reason why they're going with that wider stance is to try to get more leg drive. Just kind of realize that whatever it is that you are trying to do, there's always some give and take. So if you go with a wider stance, it's going to leave you with a wider grip. And it can oftentimes make your grip a little bit more compromised. The wider grip that you have and the higher up that you're going to actually pull the weight. So think about, like in the case of a snatch grip deadlift, where you pull it all the way up to your weenus. That's how much further you're going to be moving that barbell. Now, if it creates a better position of power out of the bottom, then maybe that's okay. I've been playing around with foot positioning myself a little bit on conventional deadlifts. I'm not a great conventional puller, so it's something I've been messing around with a little bit. And having a little bit wider stance does feel a little bit better. It does feel like I can use my legs more and use a little bit less lower back. So that's why those guys are doing it. Those guys are doing it because they're freaking mutants and they're tall as shit. Play around with your foot positioning and see what works best for you. The next question is about building up speed off the floor. The guy said the first 12 inches off the floor just feel awful. And he's been doing things like stiff leg deadlifts. He feels like he's doing his homework. He feels like he's doing his lat work, and he really feels like he's getting after it and doing the right things. First of all, deadlifting is kind of a state of mind. You really have to get yourself amped up and fired up to deadlift. Obviously, you got to be strong. Being strong will help solve a lot of problems, but you got to be ready for deadlifting. You got to get yourself fired up. You got to get inside yourself, and you got to think to yourself, I'm going to be as explosive as I possibly can be. In my talks with Konstantin Konstantinov, I've been interviewing him a little bit more for Power Magazine, thepowermagazine.com. He says that everything that he does is explosive. He'll do explosive rowing motions. He'll do one-arm rows, or one-arm dumbbell rows, seated rows, pull-ups. He does all these movements explosively, and they're all to make his deadlift better. And that goes to my next point. Each and every time you're in the gym for your deadlift, if your goal is to increase your deadlift, or your goal is to increase your strength and speed off the floor, then put everything you got into it. Put more into it. If you feel like you're not getting enough out of it, put more into it, and you will reap the benefits. So the next time you're in the gym, think to yourself, even the night before, start thinking about being explosive and how you're going to build up that speed and build up that strength. One thing that comes to mind through your email is that perhaps you're just training a little bit too heavy too often. That could be an issue. So trying something like the cube method might be a good idea. One week you do repetitions, the next week you do max effort work, and the following week you work on your speed work. But to increase the speed off the floor, there's a lot of different exercises that are great. You got things like deficit pulls, which you mentioned. I think you mentioned that you're doing. You did mention that you're pretty strong in a block pull or a rack pull. So I would eliminate those for a little while and strictly work on pulling off the floor and or slightly elevated, just like 1 or 2 mats, which is only about 1 or 2 inch difference. But you're going to really have to build up the strength of your lower back. The difference between someone who's strong and someone who's weak is oftentimes their lower back. And you mentioned in your email you're kind of worried that you might overdo it. Well, you can smash your lower back pretty damn good at least once a week. And I would say that you can do some smaller exercises on another day, so you can do some lower back work about twice a week. I've been hammering my lower back a lot as of late, and I've been feeling really good. So you can smash on your lower back pretty good. Make sure your form is intact. If your form is out of whack, then that's going to cause more issues in your lower back. But pulling with speed and pulling with power and pulling with force is a state of mind, and you need to get it in your mind right now that you're going to become a more explosive athlete. The quote that I did in the beginning of this interview was from the great Muhammad Ali when he was about to fight George Foreman. And after that speech that he gave, a little poem, he said, I know you all got him picked. I know you got him. I know you got George Foreman picked to beat me. He said, but you're all going to bow at my feet when I whip him. I'm going to show you how great I am, is what he said. And that kind of confidence is what you're going to need in the gym to start to build up. If you mope around and go, oh, I'm going to do some deadlifts. If you mope around like that, then you're always going to suck. You're always going to be slow off the floor. So you got to increase everything, my man. You got to kick it up a notch, and you got to bring it up here, bring the pain and leave a stain. You got to increase the intensity. You got to get yourself more fired up. I would say that I would start working with a little bit lighter weights. I would start working on repetitions, and I would work on being fast off the floor. You know what fast looks like. Video it. Video it a couple times. Have somebody else watch you. Be like, hey, was that fast? If they say no, take some weight off the bar. Swallow your pride a little bit and work on actually moving fast and moving those weights with more speed. How much volume and stuff like that do you need on a dynamic effort day? 10 sets of 3 would be good, or 10 sets of 2 reps would be good. I would do a lot of my work on a deficit. I would recommend that you do deficit pulls for your speed work, and perhaps even for your repetition effort method work and your max effort work. I would just keep hammering, being in some funky positions, and then occasionally, like I said earlier, elevating the weights off the floor by about 1 or 2 inches. Anyway, you got to get faster off the floor. I got to get out of here and go drink some coffee, and that is it from supertraining.tv.